Hey everybody, I'm Bob Baker with Jazz Guitar Today, and I'm being joined by Joe D'Onofrio and Bill Milkowski. We're going to talk about the South Jersey Jazz Society presents Jazz at the Point, which is basically a celebration of the life and legacy of the guitar legend and one of my personal heroes, Pat Martino.
Yes.
And this is where the crowd goes crazy because it's worthy of it. So, just for the listeners out there and the watchers out there, that Joe and I have been friends now for about 3 or 4 years, I guess, when we started talking about Pat's 75th birthday, I believe.
Yes.
And we did Jazz Guitar Today did a big thing for that, as big as we could at the time, given our resources. And we've just become really good friends. I mean, we talk a lot about all kinds of stuff, and it's really great. And you just so people know, you were Pat's manager for I think 24 years.
It'll be 25 in January.
You'll be Pat's manager
Yes.
for 25 years. You I think it'd be fair for me to say that you had a love for him beyond the music. Obviously you were passionate about his music, but he was your guy. What can
That's
I tell
correct.
You took care of him in
Absolutely.
a lot of ways. And Pat's passing was a tragedy for all of us, and nobody more than you, actually. I mean, I'm sorry to bring that up, but I think it's a fair statement. And so the celebration of life is something that I believe that it's a production that that's near and dear to you. And along with you today, we have Bill Milkowski, who has written a book about Pat. He wrote a book about Michael Brecker. He's been contributing to Downbeat Magazine, Jazz Times, and Jazz Is. He was just telling me that it was 1976 that you, Bill, that you put in your first article to Downbeat. Was that the year?
Yeah, and that's also the same year that I actually met Pat.
Wow.
No, it was actually 77.
77.
Met him, saw him play, and had a nice conversation with him, interviewed him for about 90 minutes, and maintained a friendship with him since then, and ended up producing a record for Blue Note that came out in 97, 20 years later.
Right.
All Sides Now. So I had various connections with Pat over time, including co-authoring his book. The book was his autobiography. It's written in his voice. It's called Here and Now, the autobiography of Pat Martino. And
beautiful.
It is written in Pat's voice, based on a number of conversations that we had in his house in South Philly. And it's a great, not only a telling of his chronology as a musician, but his personal ideas about it. He regarded it as a self-help book, sort of an idea about how to organically incorporate music into one's life in a healthy way through various methods. And it involved a lot of Eastern philosophy and things that he adopted over time. And so it's a good document of Pat's playing and where he was at philosophically.
I've interviewed, I guess, a couple hundred guitarists now, if not more, in the 5 years. We're in our 5th year now. 5 years we've been doing this, or the 4 years we've been doing this, because we're in our 5th. And anytime I talk to anybody that's a jazz player, Pat's always in the top 3. I mean, he's always, who's your favorite? Well, they'll mention Joe, Wes, and Pat. The typical big 3, if you will. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think it is about Pat and Pat's music that made him so, I guess, universally loved among the musicians?
The uniqueness of his conception. He's coming out of a apprenticeship with many soul jazz players and organ players, coming into a hard bop scenario, but then reinventing that with his own conception for the guitar, a very sax-like approach to the instrument. And I think what a lot of the guitarists who will be appearing at this celebration of Pat will say, and they all are hugely influenced by him, is that he showed another way for the instrument that went beyond Wes. It was coming out of Wes Montgomery, but in terms of his lines and his conception, he took it someplace else that was wholly unique and scintillating and compelling for other guitar players. And he sort of opened the door, and a lot of other players walked through it. And a lot of those guys will be celebrating him in Jersey in very shortly.
Tremendous. Thank you. That's a great answer. Thank you. Joe, tell us about what we're going to be experiencing on November 3rd through the 6th. Go ahead and give us the rundown here. I
Want the
it's a-
rundown? Okay.
Yeah, you have an amazing, I think there's like, I don't want to steal your thunder or anything, but I think you've got 35 guitar players, and the list of who's who, and not only guitar players, but you've got, other musicians as well. But the list of who's who and honoring Pat's legacy is just crazy. I guess unprecedented that I'm aware of. You guys probably know something, but it's crazy. So tell us about this event that you have produced.
Okay, so it's 4 days. There'll probably be close to 40 artists and predominantly guitar players. On Thursday, our opening day, we're doing a tribute to Blues Alley. So we have Jeff Tane Watts on drums, Tony Monaco on organ, Eric Alexander on sax, and Howard Paul will be playing. And sitting in will be Chico Pinheiro from Brazil and Wolf Marshall.
Oh boy.
And
okay.
yeah, so it's a wonderful, that's the first set. Now the second set, and actually Mr. Milkowski could speak to this second set probably even better than I can. It's a tip of the hat to Pat's Fusion CD, which was Joyous Lake.
Right.
And Fareed Haq is coming in from Chicago. He's bringing his 4-piece band in. He's going to play his tribute to Joyous Lake. And he'll do, I'd say, 30 minutes. And then we're going to bring in, he will call up actually, Kenwood Denard, who was with the original group of Joyous Lake. And he also played on Stone Blue, which was another Joyous Lake takeoff. And we'll have the sax player, Eric Alexander. And Eric was on Stone Blue, which Pat, I wouldn't say he discovered Eric, but in some ways he probably did, because he was a young player coming up. And Pat said, you know what, we're doing this CD on Blue Note Records, and I would love to have Eric be part of it. And so he was. And then on bass, we had James Genus on bass. So, but that's the tribute, the second part of Thursday night. To end the night, a gentleman
let me just jump in right here. I love Fareed Haq, and I love his playing. And I mean, his precision is the closest thing I've seen. Well, I just think he's wonderful. So that's a great show to see for sure.
Yeah, and Bill, you did the liner notes, correct?
I was going to provide some context for this album, Joyous Lake. So in '77, right around the same time, Weather Report came out with Heavy Weather with Jocko. First album that Jocko was in the band. Very exciting moment for fusion. And Joyous Lake came out right around that same time. So for guitar players, it's like hearing Heavy Weather, but with guitar. A guitarist leading the band, the main voice in the ensemble. And that was off the charts. That was a game changer for a lot of people, including myself. I had come up with hearing Pat's more hard bop stylings in various previous albums, including 1974 Consciousness. But 3 years later, he comes out with Joyous Lake. And for me, it was like, right in there with Mahavishnu Orchestra, Return to Forever, Weather Report, Pat Martino, Joyous Lake.
I'm with you. Absolutely 100%.
It was exciting. And even though it was electric and in that playground of fusion, he was playing the same angular bop lines that he'd been playing on his previous albums, the ones that were confounding so many guitarists over time, because they were so unique and they were so sax-like, but outside at the same time. And so incorporating those lines into an electric context, it was a game changer for me, as for you and for many other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, thanks. So continuing on
Yeah,
with
so,
the program.
yes, absolutely. So the end of the night, there's a gentleman from Greece, Leftoris Christoph, that's coming in, and he's going to close the night with a solo, Both Sides Now. So we're anxious about Leftoris coming in, and he will close the night on Thursday. As far as Gateway, late night over at a club nearby, a block and a half away, it's called Gregory's. We're going to do a little salute to the local guitar players that are connected to Pat, and there'll be, of course, John Mulhern's going to play in that, and let's see, there'll be Ishan Kasani, Michael Kraft, Richard Shepard, Gino White is coming into play. Gino's not a jazz player, but he was Pat's tour manager. I'd say 10, 12 years he was with him, and he's going to play. He won't be playing jazz, but he will be playing. And we're excited about hearing Gino White play as well. And that will be late night on Thursday. And a few more other guest artists that are coming in. Friday, that's Jim Riddle's night, the first set. He was with Pat for 10 years. Pat loved his playing, loved everything about him.
Yeah.
And they did some magnificent duets. I remember, just to make a left turn, when there was a tribute to Pat's favorite guitar player. Help me out, Bill.
Not Johnny Smith.
Yeah, Johnny Smith. There was a tribute to Johnny Smith, and there was all the guitar players that came to pay tribute. And they asked Pat, and Pat, instead of having a band, he said, no, I'll do it with a Jim Riddle. That's it. And the two of them went out on the stage, and they played on the second half of the bill. So when they took an intermission, Johnny Smith came up to introduce Pat, and it blew me away. He said to the audience, he said, the next gentleman that's going to be playing is one of my favorite all-time guitar players. I was just thrilled, because I was such a fan of his. And that little duo knocked everybody's socks off. So anyway, Jim Riddle will be playing the first set on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
They will be Cheryl Bailey on guitar, Byron Landon that played with Pat as well. On drums, Steve Varner on bass. Then we're going to have some guest artists come in. Russell Malone and Jimmy Bruno will be in the second set. That's going to be exciting. I don't think they ever played together. Rick Germanson will be the piano player, and Craig Thomas, the bass player, who both of them toured with Pat. Also, Joel Harrison will be playing with that group as well. And then at the end of the set, there's a duet of John Mulhern and David O'Rourke that will conclude our Friday.
Wow.
Night. So Saturday, and late night on Friday is a jam session. Good old-fashioned jam session. Tony Monaco on organ, Carmen Inturi Jr. on drums, and everybody that wants to come in and play. And I know Bill Milkowski may bring his guitar with him. That should be fun.
Oh.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, I'm sitting in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's going to be fun. And then Saturday, that will be a tribute to Pat's last band, which would be Carmen Inturi and Pat Bianchi.
Mm-hmm.
And they will have several players. They're going to do the tribute to Formidable on the first set, which will be two horn players, Alex Norris, who played on the CD,
Mm-hmm.
and a guest artist on sax would be Nicole Glover, wonderful player. In fact, we've had her at the festival before, and she'll be up to play. Second set, same rhythm section, Bianchi Dentori, but Dave Stryker.
I see you got
Besides Dave,
Paul
there'll be
Bolenbach, you got Mark
Whitfield.
Whitfield, Barry Green. Man, you got some of my
Also,
favorites.
also we added Rodney Jones.
Oh wow.
It's not on the sheet. We just added Rodney Jones and Jonathan Kriegsberg.
Oh yeah. In fact, I just interviewed Jonathan a couple days ago. I mean, I love Jonathan.
Yeah, he's great. So they'll be there. And then late Saturday, we're just going to do a hang where everybody will just sit around and talk
Right.
and talk about old times. Sunday is a brunch sponsored by Benedetto, and Howard will have some of his artists playing the brunch.
Right.
And that will conclude our celebration.
Well, I'm highly recommend that if you're in the area, even if you're not in the area, fly in. You know, I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to, first of all, hear this quality of musicians together, irrespective of the fact that we're celebrating Pat's life and legacy. This getting these guys together over three or 4 days is just insane. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that this is not only a live venue event, but it is live streamed all over the world. And you can click onto this thing over 72 hours of music. Is that what I just heard you say?
Well, no. Let's say Thursday, you have up to 72 hours to buy it.
Oh, to buy it. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
And the same thing for Friday, same thing for Saturday. So the last show on Saturday, you have 72 hours after that to go ahead and live stream it.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, what's the cost going to be?
$10.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's probably worth the ticket for sure.
And
A
not
mere
all
bag
goes
of
to Pat
shells.
State.
Oh, I used a Ralph Cramden line. It's a mere bag of shells.
It's a mere
10
bag of shells, bro.
$10.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ralph Crandall. A lot of people don't know who that is, but I certainly do.
I'm
Yeah.
horribly old.
Yeah, well, we're all about in the same place, so I hear you there. Well, listen, guys, just to kind of let's put a point on this thing. So the South Jersey Jazz Society presents Jazz the Point 2022, November 3rd through 6th, Summers Point, New Jersey. But the main thing we want to stress here is that it is a live stream. Each stream is $10, correct? Each evening, is that
Correct.
what's that? Okay, each day is $10. That's easy to do. To get to the live stream, I guess the way to do that is going to be what? What is the URL to get to the
Several
live
ways,
stream?
but the easiest thing is to go to southjerseyjazz.org. And everything's there.
southjerseyjazz.org. I'm going to say that again, southjerseyjazz.org. And then all the links are there, correct?
Yes.
Man, I got to tell you, that's phenomenal. I mean, you talk about putting puppies in a box. I mean, getting all these guys together and organizing this, Joe, I tell you, my hat's off to you, my friend. That's amazing. And it just really points out the love and respect that everybody had for Pat.
Absolutely.
And then the end of this game is that it's all about Pat. It's all about his dedication to the music, his passion, his energy. Nobody, this sounds really stupid, but nobody did it like him. Of course, nobody did it like me or Bill or anybody, but I mean, he just, like I said, I've interviewed a lot of high level guitar players, and his name shows up in the top 3, I would say 98% to 99% of the time. And I mean, I know he was a huge influence on me, and Joyous Lake was the record that turned me totally around. I went, whoa, what is this? If you remember, Larry Coryell was doing 11th House at the time too.
Right.
So that was
Right.
the other one.
Right.
And that was a real revelation for a lot of guys our age, if you will, playing the guitar when Pat invented that. So unless you guys have got something else that you want to add to this, I think that we're going to ask people, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, to support this event. amazing musicians for the right reason, for the right cause. And really, you're celebrating one of the giants of what most of us have dedicated our lives to. And, you know, you talk about standing on the shoulders of giants. Well, this is one of the guys. We're standing,
I
we're
thank
all,
you for the opportunity, Bob.
we're
You've
all
been a good
standing on his,
friend.
we're all
I
standing on
appreciate
his
it.
shoulders. You're welcome, Joe. Bill, it was a pleasure to meet you. I hope
All
to
right, Bob.
meet you in person sometime. Joe,
Yeah.
it's always a pleasure. And
Thank you.
let's do everything we can to make this a giant success. So Bob Baker for Bill Milkowski and Joe D'Onofrio, on behalf of Pat
All right.
Martino and the celebration of life, we say good night, goodbye, and thank you. Good night,
Thank you.
guys.
All right.
All right.
Good
Bye-bye.
Good night.